The recording has also been switched on. My dear friends, welcome to Rotary Club of Visakhapatnam. I request our Rotarian Jason Murthy to please go ahead with the Rotary song. I'll be sharing the Rotary song on the screen. Just a minute, my dear friends.
Just unmuted.
Yes. Yes, sir. Please unmute. Sure. My dear friends, let us all raise for the Rotary song.
Please
Yes,
join. मानव की सहायता करके यही आखिरी इसका नाम रोटरी रोटरी
रोटरी रोटरी इसका नाम
रोटरी सकल विश्व में बड़ा न प्रेम भाव आखरी इसका नाम रोटरी 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 इसका नाम रोटरी पूंजपते कामगार मिलकर करे कारोबार अपने देश की करेंगे एक साथ चाकरी इसका नाम रोटरी 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 इसका नाम रोटरी सकल विश्व अपना नाम सब समान समझना सबको मार्ग यही बताना इसका नाम रोटरी 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 इसका नाम रोटरी.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Garu. That is the spirit of Rotary clubs. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, my dear friends, we are here for the speaker meet today. So, today's main agenda will be the speaker meeting. But along with that, let us share a couple of services that we have executed in the last 1 week. I request our secretary, Budavarthi Srinivas Garu, to share the information about various services conducted in the last week. Please unmute, sir.
Hello friends, this week we did 2 service projects. One is old newspapers given to Netra Vidyalaya school for the blind, and second one is we given the check 12,000 check for education to poor people. This is 2 we did in this week. Thank you all. Hello.
Thank you, Secretary, for the information. Yes, my dear friends. So today, finally, we are here to discuss about the culture and the importance of some of the great architectural mysteries of the India. Now, for this particular things, we have a very special personality with us. And I take the privilege of introducing today's speaker of the day, Sri Sivasankar Babu Garu, who is here with us. So this gentleman is not a speaker on simple heritage technology or else something that's what we are seeing today, but he is a personality with vivid portfolios. And I'm happy to say that he is also into information technology. He is into the history of the country. He is into the heritage of various temples. Like he's actually working as he has worked as he worked with various companies like Hexaware, Wipro, Capgemini, and many other companies for around 20 years, serving them in various domains and consulting in those particular technologies and as well as services. Apart from that, he handles mentoring sessions for final year BE students for campus placements in leading institutions like SRM University, National Engineering College, and Kovilpatti St. Xavier Catholic College, Nagarkoil, and etc. Apart from that, he is also supporting final year placement guidance for IIT Madras sessions on industry expectations and curriculum vitae preparations and for mock interviews also. He is renewing his passion for Indian history, its ancient commerce, temple architecture, epigraphy, iconography by attending seminars and reference books and other things. He also traveled extensively through Tamil Nadu, which is also called as the land of temples, and these are documented in detail in his Facebook tour album. We have to certainly visit his tour album also. I'll be sharing that link also over here. And also he is a part of the Tamil Heritage Trust, THT, which focuses on spreading heritage awareness across the globe. He is one of the THT trained guide and handles alumni Avai heritage training for teachers. And he is also involved in THT site seminars, trips to heritage locations for 6 to 7 days with 25 plus preparatory lectures by participants in prior to 6 months and compilation of them as a tour guide for them whenever they are going to go on the site appreciations. Also, he covered Bhubaneswar, Badami, Sanchi, Kanchi, and Tanjavur. He also does presentations on heritage subjects at groups like Satpati Kala Parishad, Tirupati, IITTM Nellore, CCVA Vijayawada, and University of Kerala, and many other places. Also, you can find many of his videos available on YouTube. You can also search for the tagline Babu for Heritage. He is also famously called over there. So his YouTube channel, Babu for Heritage, is a go-to place for heritage videos where he curates content which is available in more than 50 categories. He is also working on entry-level guide for beginners on Tamil Nadu temple architecture, featuring many developments, which is also going to be released very soon. He has completed certifications in old scriptures and old scripts like Tamil Brahmi, Vattilitu, Grantham, and Raid inscriptions, and postgraduate diploma in archaeology from International Institute of Tamil Studies, Chennai. Apart from this, he is a personality having a very strong command on many, temple architectures and the science behind that, which is the core competency and the core culture of the Indian history. So with this, I present our speaker of the day, Sivasankar Garu. Sir, welcome to Rotary Club of Visakhapatnam, sir. Sir, please unmute, sir.
I have unmuted, yes. Thank you all. It was a fairly lengthy introduction. I just gave it and probably it was too long for this introduction. So first of all, I want to thank the Rotary Club and the Visakhapatnam branch for giving me an opportunity to spread heritage awareness among the elite Rotarians. I got this reference through another Rotarians and then from Chennai, Mr. Balaji. I think I should thank him. And then this is giving me some more area of reach to talk about the temples, the benefits, and our heritage. So I thank for giving me an opportunity. So today we are going to talk for around 45 minutes about the subject. And after that, we'll have around 10 minutes of question and answer. And I'm sure if more questions are there, it may get extended. So let me share the presentation. Are you all able to see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, very good. So today we are talking about Sita and Mahabalipuram. What is Sita? Sita is nothing but South Indian temple architecture in simple form. The moment we talk about Dravidian, there are a lot of other heartburn and then political and other issues coming in. So nowadays we have shifted to South Indian temple architecture and North Indian temple architecture as a politically neutral terms. So Sita and Mahabalipuram is our subject today. Primarily what we are going to talk is what are the basic concepts and some of the fundamental structures of South Indian temple architecture, and how you can need not go through the entire Tamil Nadu to find out this. You go to only one place, hardly 60 kilometers from Chennai, and then you can cover anything. So this is an architectural university where they have experimented on all sorts of temple forms within a short span of 150 years. So we will see how this presentation is in two forms. One, we talk about the overview of temple architecture, how temples are formed, and we see how the various developmental aspects of the temple development evolution has been envisaged and experimented in one single place, that is Mahabalipuram. Now Mahabalipuram is famous a few years ago because of the Chinese premier visits, and now again famous for the International Chess Federation happening now. And I think Modi has got a soft spot for Mahabalipuram, and then he keeps on sponsoring, pushing things. And then in a way, it is a good realization for a very ancient city, which is getting famous in multiple ways now. Right. Now, before we go into the details of temple architecture, let us see how the temple worship and evolution expanded over a period of centuries from very old period till current period in terms of location, in terms of method, and also in terms of um, the construction material. So this will give a good idea of how it is expanded. So earlier period during Neolithic, Megalithic period, people were focusing more on natural worship. Whatever is unknown is God. Still now, if you look at this, that is the final principle. But they started with natural worship like sun, moon, river, rain, which they don't have any comprehension, and then there is the natural gods. So this is pagan worship. They worship as it is. There is no temple, nothing. So they worshipped this and then moved on. Later on, the moment somebody tied a stone to the stick and started using it, all the problems of human kind started. So one guy become powerful, and the guy wielding the weapon become powerful, and the weapon started getting worshipped. So the guy who is having a weapon is the king. Then naturally, wherever they were living in natural caves, a separate cave is allocated for the weapons and other things. And then this used to be the initial temples. Gradually, when they moved from the mountains into the plains, and normally this kind of temples used to be under the tree with a roof or without a roof. And gradually, as they started permanent structures, like during the period, this is somewhere around early centuries, where they had huts and materials under wood, mortar, brick, and other things. Some of the best construction used to be reserved for the temples. So the period temples were in wood, mortar, and brick. Later on, the people had their caves in their mind. They have been living it for ages. They can't forget it. So wherever possible, wherever they see some good openings, now they have found out the usage of iron and other things. They started chiseling. They started making cut-in caves, which are solid. So this activity started from 1st century BCE in India with Ashoka period, Varabar caves. But it started in South India somewhere around, and particularly Tamil Nadu, 5th, 6th centuries. Then some of the rocks, what they see as like a shape of temple, they cut it down and then made it into temple. So in one single rock, they made one temple. So the logic is very simple. Cut off whatever is not looking like a temple, and then finally you get a temple. That is very simple. But the temples were made. But the interesting part is that even during this time, during wooden mortar and brick and other things usage, there were agamas, rules onto how to build a temple, what are the components, what are the issues, and what needs to be there for what type of a god, what type of a shape, and other things are there. All these are there. So by the time in 9th and early 8th centuries, people are tired of running around finding for the rocks to build temples, and then there are far off. So with advanced chisel and other things, now they have mastered the art of cutting stone into blocks and then start building blocks, load bearing, alignment, and everything. So most of the buildings were, the temples were built of stone. And then later on, they interestingly, they built some multi-storied temples also. Okay. Now the pinnacle is concrete usage. Now, with the latest RCC concrete, you can make massive temples, massive overhangs, all these fancy arches, everything is possible with the minimal effort. So from a small cave, we have progressed in this during the 20 centuries of 20 or 30 centuries of evolution. But how much of that we are able to see now? We are not able to see all these things wooden mortar, primarily because this wooden mortar have got a life of around 300, 200 years only. So after that, they deteriorate. So one of the oldest thing we find is Salvankupam near Mahabalipuram, which is the missing link which I was mentioning to the group earlier, where the Sangam period brick foundation is there, which is relating to 3rd century. From this point onwards, we see all sorts of temples available to us. Till the latest one, the beautiful in concrete with gold plated or painted golden temple in Vellore. So this is a spread of temples we see in terms of temple evolution. When you see the shapes in terms of shape, the early guys were doing huts in different shapes. That shape stands in their mind for a long period. The moment they start building temples, even in mud or in rock or in brick, the original shapes still continue as the roof. So if you look at Dravidian and other things, you have layered top, you have square plan hut top, you have apsidal plan. Apsidal plan means bottom plan, and then apsidal top. You have rectangular plan with sala or wagon type of thing, and you have square plan with polygon top. This is the typical Dravida temple. So if you look at most of the temples that are available in South India or in particular Tamil Nadu, you can always fix it into these 6 major categories. Now let us see how the structure of temples progressed from very basic structure to the slowly grander and grander structure, the progression. The early temples were not made of brick. So during early days, they were made of wood partitioning, and then there will be a center shaft in the middle, which was in many places worshipped as a weapon or svilinga or a shaft. So that is how the temple started evolving. And gradually over a period, it come into shed, which is a 2-part. You have a pillar or wall, and you have a roof. This is a 2-part structure. Then later on, slowly it progressed into, instead of 2 pillar, 3 pillar, you have an enclosed structure, and this is how it started evolving. And then gradually in Nilgiris and other things, whatever is an ornamental and other things, the best part of their hut structure become the temple. So this is the Toda temple. See, this is the entrance. You need to crawl inside and then see the temple. So these are all the ancient shapes. If you look at any of the Dravida temples, all these shapes will be there in one form or other. Now we come to the 4-part kind of an hut, where you have a foundation, we have a floor, we have the wall, and we have the roof, and we have the shikara, which is nothing but the 4 poles joined together on the top. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this 4 part is being represented by the Draupadi Ratha during 6th to 7th centuries. So this is what is the current living one is represented as temples which are sculptured in rock. The same thing is represented in Chidambaram and other places. Hello, somebody is not on the mute.
Please continue, sir. I have already muted.
Okay. So similarly, when you are looking at this kind of an 5-part structure where you have base, you have wall, you have roof, and then you have a overhang. This is like a wagon roof type of thing. So we also have similar structure here in Malay Bhimaratha, which is around the wagon wall type of thing with a raised thing. So most of the structures which are elementary and earlier used by people, that structures are being reflected by the stone sculptures or rathas during 6th to 7th centuries. Finally, the most complex tower kind of houses, these are all represented by the pyramidical Dravida Vimana of Dharmaraja. So you have a base, you have multiple tiers, and you have a shikara, and then you have a stupi. So this is how finally, this is the Agama mentioned the 6-part of 6-part temples. Okay. So what are the 6 part of the basic temple? We will see now. So when you compare a person, you think of 6 parts. You have the legs, you have the body, you have the shoulder, you have the neck, you have the face, and you have the scalpel or the shikara or the crown. Like this, if you are looking at your house, you can also visualize the same component there. This is for an example, I had taken my old house. If you look at a temple also, a temple also has got similar structure like a person. Let us see how. If you see this, the legs are represented by this basement, the foundation, the strong one, which bears all the weight. The same thing is called as Adhisthana in temple, which is the load-bearing part. The second part, your body part, is your wall here in a house. The same wall part is there, which is called bitti in temple architecture terms. So don't confuse yourself with the thing. I'm just giving for reference. If you understand the major portion, there is enough. So now you have foot, you have the body, and then you have the shoulder. This is the shoulder where you have a sunshade or roof. Primarily, the function is to ensure that you have some shade here, and it also protects from rainwater flowing here. The same thing is also replicated in a temple. This is called kapota or prastara. So this is the shoulder part. Then what is the neck part? This is the inside smaller portion. Here it is the balcony. And here also you can see a inside portion called griva. Griva is neck. Then you have the final head part, which is the top portion. And you have the head or the face. So like a person who has got different faces and other things, a temple also has got different faces, square, round, rectangle, and then elliptical, all sorts of shikaras are there. So this is called shikara. And after that, you have the stupi or tower. What is a stupi? In a house, it is a TV antenna. Okay. Here you can see the stupi as a pinnacle of this. So with this, this is typically called a Shatanka Vimana. Shatanka means 6-part Vimana. So you can easily visualize the temple as belonging to 6 major components. Now, from a simple temple, slowly people have expanded this with India, major complex. This is the Mannargudi temple in South India. Can you identify where the sanctum is? This is somewhere here. This is the original temple. This expanded 1 round, 2 round, 3 round, 4 round, 5 round, which is like a huge complex. When in Trichy, in Srirangam, we have got 7 prakaras, and this is the only one temple in South India where town buses fly inside the temple complex. Okay, in 7th prakara, in some areas, the buses also fly. So that is like it is like a temple city fort by itself. That is how it has grown. So how this is grown, and let us learn what are the basic components of a temple, and then how they are visualized by our forefathers into various components. If you see this, the basic components of the temple are the Gopuram, Dwajastamba, Balipida, and then Vahana Mandapa, and then Mahamandapa, and the Sanctum, which is having the Lingam or the core deity. So this can be mapped to various versions of Linga, or a god or a deity or a human lying down, and it is always mapped to the 6 yoga chakras of the body. So from Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahita, Visuddha, and Agna chakra. The Agna chakra is related to the central part. Like that, people can visualize the temple complex and the whole set of components as a human body with yoga chakras. So let us see whether it fits into. So here is the yoga chakra map, and this is the photo of Tanjavur big temple, where we see the foot in the Gopura, and the mandabas in various Agna chakras, and the head and the Agna chakra is in the sanctum. So this is how people visualize, our forefathers visualize this. Now coming to the basics of temple, basically there are 3 major components or 3 types of buildings in a temple complex. People confuse each other and then they use different terms. In South Indian or Dravida structure, the term used are like this. Vimana means this is the place where the god resides, the sanctum. It can be in multiple forms. It has got a tower on top and various shapes. So if you take Tanjore Big Temple, this is the Vimana. This is not the superstructure. In South India, they call it as from bottom to the top, it is called as Vimana. Vimana means, Mana means measurement, Vimana means perfect and beautiful measurement. Then we have Mandavas. Here, the god comes in for darshan and there is a lot of functions. In South Indian style, they don't have superstructures on top and they have open walls and closed walls. Okay, so you can see a lot of mandavas here in this temple. And the third one is gopuras. Gopuras are gateways, and then they are pyramidal towers like this, but it will have entrance, but they are always rectangular in shape. So a temple will have one sanctum or one major vimana and multiple minor vimanas for each of the sub-deities, and it will have multiple mandavas and maybe having one gopuras or 4 or this one. Srirangam has got 7 prakaras and around 22 gopuras. So this is the temple components, temple buildings which are related to South Indian temple architecture. Now we are going to see how this progression happened in Tamil Nadu over various dynasties. If you see Tamil Nadu, it has got a special place. It has been relatively peaceful, unlike North India, with only two instances of occupation by non-Hindus. One, during the 4th to 5th, it was ruled for 200 years by Kalapiras. And then later, during 14th century, there was an invasion by Muslims for around 100. And after that, Vijayanagara took over. So bulk of the time, it was in a very protected land. And then temple building has been continuously going on, and that has been supported by all dynasties. So if you see how the grand temple which we saw so far, how the various components have been built, we can see like this. During early period, most of the temples were built in wood, mortar, and brick up to the 5th century. Then, when Pallavas came in between 6th and 9th centuries, they did a lot of experimentation in terms of cut-in caves, monoliths, and structured rock temples. Then the imperial Cholas came in between 8th and 12th centuries. They did a lot of work on walls, ornamentation, great vimanas. And then the one major thing is they converted most of these wooden mortar brick temples into granite temple. That's why we are seeing so much of temples in Tamil Nadu, because everything is converted into granite, and then they are standing after 1,000 years. Then came Pandyas, later Pandyas, where they did a lot of work. For them, the mandapas are done, the sanctum is done. What else is there? So gradually they started working on the peripheral. They started building gopurams, which are unique to Tamil Nadu. And then they built a lot of prakaras and mandapas. And later on, Vijayanagaras came in. During the Vijayanagara period, the gopuras become bigger. The mandapas with a lot of roofs around them and prakaras. Later on, the Nayakas, the subsidiary people of Vijayanagara generals and Natukote business people, Nagarathas, they built a lot of 1,000-pillar mandapams, temple tanks, and other things, which we see even today. So that is how the temple building has started from 5th century all the way up to 18th, 19th century. By 18th century, the temple building activities stopped, and then with the British occupation and other things, this is coming into a state. So this is how you will able to understand how, in what period, what was built and by which dynasty. Now, having told you the 6 major components of the Vimana or the temple, the first component is your basement. So this is what is taking the load of the temple, the entire load of the granite temple, and then this. What technically what it does is engineering. It spreads it in a slope so that your area of contact is wider, and then spreads the load so that pressure is reduced. But if you give it an architect or engineer, he will build a slope. But what the temple builders have done is they have broken into beautiful components and then made it as an artistic engineering. So this is what we call as Adhisthana or foundation. Okay. Then on top of it, the wall portion, instead of simply being a wall, it has got so much of wall decorations like various kambas, pillars, kumbha panjaras, and then kumbhaladas. This is nothing but a kumbha, a pillar, and a cage, and with ornamental creepers. Like that, this is Torana, and then we will have costumes like a Deva costume with an arch. So this kind of embellishment will be there in the wall. Then the next component is the roof part. So the roof part, prastara, is basically on the pillar, there will be a flat structure. On top of it, there will be a sunshade or a rain water drip. So instead of making it as a simple rainwater drip, they made it into a beautiful curved one with arches on top. And also there are a lot of Bhuta friezes below that. So whenever you go to any of the temple in South India, you look under this arch in the roof, you will see a lot of beautiful friezes of Bhutaganas and swans and other things. This is the area which is not affected by the sun and rain and dust. So the sculptures will be very, very sharp. Next comes your portion on the final neck portion and the shikara portion. So this is called the griva, and then this is the shikara. So shikara can come in multiple shapes. It can be square, it can be rectangle, or it can be circular, or it can be apsidal, or many forms. So this is the 6 major components of any Vimana. Now we are coming to the next major building class, Mandapa. Mandabas are primarily constructions where they don't have a superstructure. So this is the Vimana, and from here the Mandabas start. So various Mandapas, and once the Vimana is done, this section is called Antarala, where there is a passage. Then there is a small, this niche is an Antarala, and this is the Adda Mandapa where people stand and do prayer. And this is the Mahamandapa, bigger Mandapa, where festivals happen. And in the front, there is a entrance Mukasala where the entrance thing is there. Here, this Mandapa is designed as a Rathakara, like wheels and chariots. So like that, there are any number of Mandapas which are between the sanctum and the gopurams. So they have various functions. Then the final one is the gopuram. This is a gateway which will be of a rectangular shape with multiple chikaras. Normally, between the gateway and the gopuram, there will be 2 components. One is the Balipida, which all the offerings are given to the god. And then this is the Vahana Mandapa, Nandi Mandapa. And in some places, there will be Dhoja Stamba also. So these are the major components of any temple. In addition, later period, this used to be covered by a grand wall, just to protect the temple from invasion and other things. But later on, there are some unique ways of this. In Kanchi Kailasanada, instead of just having plain wall, what they have done is they have created around 65 mini beautiful temples with fantastic structures and sculptures in each of these mini temples. This is something which you need to visit and see. In another temple, Kanchi Vaikuntha, they have done the prakara. Instead of having an open prakara, they have raised it, and then they have covered pillars on one side so that it is roofed. On the left side wall, there is around 250 small panels, which is describing the entire history of Pallava from the Brahma, his descendants, and then first Pallava, all the way up to Nandivarma. It is like a comic strip panel. It shows the entire story of how each Pallava won over and then how they did the coronation and everything. This is a historical marker. In many of the places, in special bigger things, the prakara is a 2-tier structure with mandapa on 2 levels, one for normal people and another for royal and bigger ones. So even the prakara mandapa or the wall can be ornamented with so much of information. So this, in a nutshell, gives the temple structure of Dravida temple architecture. So we saw the 3 major components: Vimanam, which is the abode of God; Mandapas, where gods visit, and then where do we perform functions and pujas; and Gopuram, the gateways, and the prakaras around it. And these are the basic components. And in Vimana, we saw the basic 6 components, which are predominantly available in all temples. Now we see If you want to see all these complexes in one place, what I would recommend is Mahabalipuram. It is an university of sculptural architecture. It was a major river port during Pallava dynasty. During 6th to 9th century, it was their harbor area where Palar joins the Bay of Bengal, another 10 kilometers from here. There are a lot of hard rocks and hillocks and other things. And then in this, they did extensive experimentation in a short period of 100 years during Pallava period, 630 to 730. They did all the experimentation. And later on, only very minor modifications were done by Cholas and Nayakas. Whatever Pallavas have done, major, it is standing as it is. What they did was, from the old brick and mark temples up to rock cut caves, monolithic rathas, structural granite temples, modern concrete temples. Pallavas, the Mahabalipuram has it all. So everything you can see it in one single place, in various levels, various varieties. So in terms of plants, in terms of types of shigaras, in terms of number of tiers, and then arches, and then niches and the sculptures in niches, it has got ultimate variety in this. Beautiful panels. So during 17th, 18th centuries, gradually it went into disuse. And when British took over, they found a lot of temples in mound or other things. They started cleaning up, and then they started reading the inscription and other things and found out, okay, this is belonging to this temple, and then this is a king who built it. Like that, they did a lot of uncovering and restoration, and finally it got the World Heritage Monument certification in 1984 itself, the first in Tamil Nadu and one of the first 5 in India. So that is Mahabalipuram for you. When you see in terms of the dynasty which ruled Mahabalipuram, this is Pallavas, who ruled from 6th century up to 9th century. And their capital city was Kanjipuram, and their major port city was Mahabalipuram. And there are several kings, but the key kings which are relevant to us are Narasimha Pallava, who did the 5 rathas, cave mandapas and everything. His father Mahendra was a pioneer who did lot of cutting caves in on and around the Kanjipuram and the other areas. But Narasimha concentrated mostly in Mahabalipuram. And after that, his son had a very short reign, and his grandson did one Ganesha Ratha. And after that, the second level grandson, Narasimha II, he is called Atyantakama or Rajasimha. He did bulk of the experimentation in Shore Temple, Adiranachanda caves, and all the other things he did it. By 730, the Pallava building activity moved into Kanjipuram, and then they built the beautiful Kailasnatha Kanchi and then started expanding all over Tamil Nadu, particularly in northern Tamil Nadu. And the building activity stopped in Mahabalipuram. So if you see this, all the activity happened between 630 to 730 in a span of 100 years. You can see how much temples we have built. So Malay is a brick and architecture museum, and it has got maximum utility, and it has got options from brick and mortar temple in Sarvankuppam. It has got a collection of rock cut temples. It has got monolithic rathas where the entire temple is carved out of one single rock, and you have a lot of structural rock temples where you cut the rocks into components and then start building it. This is the Shore temple. You have bas reliefs, you have many temples, you have lot of variation, like very mini small temple. There is a small lion, and inside the lion, there is a Mahishasuramartini temple there. And unusual things like this pavilion, we don't know how to name it. So variety, everything available in one place. Let us see each component number one. Rock cut caves. So what is rock cut? This is basically cutting up in a horizontal way and then go inside. That means that the front portion is finely cut and towards the end it is rough and hewn. So this is how they start. They cut the basic shape and then start cutting in deep and deep, and then slowly the pillars are removed. So this is well finished. As you go deeper and deeper, the finish level becomes less, and in some point or other they abandon and then finish it. So this is the sanctum which is available. So this is how we cut and cut in and then go deeper into the rock interior, and you can judge it by the development of how much they have deep gone in, by the refinement in the pillars and refinement in the clarity. So that is rocket caves. So we have 16 rocket temples in Mallai. From the simplest one called Dharmaraja Mandapam, see very basic mandap, the basic pillars. You have the small mandapa and you have a sanctum. That's it. To the most ornate multiple dimension where you have a sanctum, you have a beautiful sculptures, panels, you have ornamental pillars, you have pool in front, and you have all the shikaras and everything mentioned here. So this is like a normal temple. We also have many rock temples. So this is structural rock temples, one and all over the place. One is near beach, we have 3 shore temples, and one at the ground level, and another one on top of the hillock on a mountain top. Interestingly, this temple was used during British period as a lighthouse. They had a lighthouse structure on top of this, and then they were using it for some time. We also have monolithic rathas. When you say monolithic, what they do is they have a rock like this, they cut it down slowly and then remove all. This requires a lot of planning. This requires very minute calculation, and then slowly they cut the rough rock into temple like shape. So this, we have 9 with different type of shikara. This is the shikara. One Valayanukutam with the spire shikara, Pidari with the spire shikara, and then Pidari 2 with the octagonal shikara. See this. These are all experimented in various steps and then stopped at that. From top they started, and around here they stopped at this. Now in the you have Draupadi Kutakara and then Nakula Sakadeva, which is at a Gajabrishta style. We have Arjuna in octagon shape. This is, and then Bhimaratha with a wagon wall type, and Dharmaraja with this one, okay, and the wagon type. So this is the most complete. We also have lively Himalayan scenes where this is one of the beautiful bas reliefs which is available, which has got humans, gods, demigods, and animals, and then all of them beautifully explained in detail. This is the largest bas relief. Imagine during Pallava period, this entire thing was coated in a light lime and it was given a color painting, and we had a fountain flowing through this crevice like a Himalayan waterfall. How beautiful it would have been at that point of time. And you have a lot of experimentation beyond the rules. Okay, you have this, you don't go by any definition. So it is a celebration mandapa where you have a stage surrounded by 11 lions, and then you have two small shrines for Muruga and Indra. So it is a totally different kind of design, and they do a lot of prototyping. And there is a small, very small Vesara shrine inside circular pond. You have Durga temple inside the lion, and then you have the tiger caves, which we saw now. They had done a sample, and then which is available in a different place. Similarly, there is a grand Mahishashari Martini cave. The model is also available here. In addition to temples, Mahabalipuram has got some different articles like the king's Simhasana, which is there on the top of the monument with a grand view. Probably he used to review it, the project during his time. And then it has got another one with a reclining bed near Ramanuja Mandapa. And then there is a beautiful pond. And you have a mini pond, beautiful pond with the sculptured towers. You have many temples. So Atyantakama, which is Rajasimha's title name, has done so much of experimentation in 8th century in Mahabalipuram, which created a trend. So by the time Cholas take over, the experimentation part is over. What Cholas did is they built grander and more ornamental temples, but the variation in temple structures, components, and everything, Pallavas have reached the pinnacle. So this is one of the temples which is explained in the early Sangam period, which the brick foundation on the bottom. This is a Muruga temple, which you can identify by the stone sphere, which is available, which is built around a natural rock outcrop, and this is the front portion is the temple. And you have some images of the caves. So this is a rocket cave, which is there for Muruga, Shiva, and Vishnu. See the detailing, including the Dwarapala steps and other things, and the top embellishment. The second one is the Varaha Mandapa, where you can see beautiful sculptures inside, panels inside, and a lot of ornaments. Like that, we have around 15, 16 caves. This is the kind of beautiful sculptures inside Varaha Mandapa. And the next one is the Mahishasuramartini Mandapa, where you have got world-renowned two sculptures. One is Sayana Vishnu and Madhu Kaidapa fighting for him. The other one is the very, very famous Mahishasuramartini fighting Mahisha, and then he is trying to run away. This is one of the beautiful ornamental caves. Finally, now we come to 5 rathas. Okay, here what we see is a rock outcrop, 3 rock outcrops. But for Pallava Narasimha, it didn't look like a rock. So what he saw is a ratha. So one outcrop he converted into a lion. The next outcrop he converted into a Gajabrishta kind of a temple, and then an elephant nearby, just to convert the shape. This long rock he cut up into 3, 4 components, and then converted into 4 major temples, the entire rock. So this is what we saw as 5 rathas. So we have 5 rathas, and they are popularly called as Panja Pandava rathas. So they started the biggest one as Dharmaraja, the broadest one as Bhima, the leanest one is Arjuna, and then the one with the feminine bodyguards, they had Draupadi. Now they are running into a problem. So there are 2 more guys, Nakala and Sakadeva. So for both they allotted only one temple, Nakala Sakadeva temple. So this is primarily due to number. and it doesn't have any sanctity in terms of historical things. The Draupadi temple is a Durga temple, okay, in the Kuda Karak type of a thing. The next one is the Nakula Sakadeva, which is predominantly a temple for Indra, because presence of elephant and this kind of an apsidal temples is predominantly for Indra. It has got two-tier structure. So this is the reflection of temples that were there in wooden mortar during the time. Then you have Arjuna Ratha, which is for Muruga, and then you can see that this is a two-tier beautiful structure, and with you have lot of fantastic sculptures around this. Then we have the broad-based Bhimaratha. This is meant for Sayana Vishnu. That's why it is broader. So this is a abode for Sayana Vishnu. That's why it is longer and broader. And finally, the big one is for Dharmaraja. This is one of when we talk about apartments, like multi-story apartments. Now, it is not a 20th century innovation. It is a 7th century innovation. Even gods lived in apartments. So this is a 3-story apartment where there are sanctums in all the 3 levels with the pathway in between. This was structured in stone. Later on, Pallavas also built regular many temples or 3-story temples with the 3 sanctums in the Vimana for Vishnu. And finally, the last one is Ganesh Ratha, which is one of the complete Rathas. It is called Ganesh Ratha, but it is for Shiva. This is how it looked earlier, and this is the current renovated form. Coming to the structured temple, this is the Valakaneswara temple on top of the hill, and on the bottom is the Mahishasuramartini caves. So during British time, they used to have a lighthouse on top of this. Now we come to the top pinnacle of Mahabalipuram, the earliest known structural temple of Tamil Nadu. So this complex has got a very old temple of 6th century, which is called the Vishnu Graham, which is a Sayana Vishnu, and it is there on top of a rock. What they have done is they have extended on that rock, and then they have built 2 more temples around this. One is this temple on facing the western side, and another temple facing the eastern side. Okay, Kshatriya Simeswaram and Raja Simeswaram. So these are the earliest available structural temples of Tamil Nadu, full complete circle. So there is a mini pond, and you can see the remains of the Mahamandapa and other structure around this. So this is Shore temple for you. And this is another view of your Himalayan scene. People call it as Arjuna Tapas, or you can say Bhagirath Tapas, or some they say it is Jaina. But the beauty is during Pallava time, this entire thing was coated in lime and coated in multicolor, and they had a pond on the top for pouring water, the steps for going up, and then water used to flow from there in the natural cleft where the people are bathing, and then Nagaraja and others are there. So what a grand sight it would have been in 7th century with a functioning waterfall. The other beauty of most of the Pallava sculptures is that most of them are functional sculptures which blend with nature with dynamic activism. Now coming to the final part, this is the later period brick and mortar and concrete kind of a structure called Salasayana Perumal, which is one of the 108 Vishnu Divya Desams sung by Alvars. So this is a separate temple which is of later period. So with this, we cover the Mahabalipuram, the architectural university of Tamil Nadu, where you have seen the entire development of the temple architecture, from the old brick and mortar to the cave temples, the stone rathas, structural rock temples, and also the modern period concrete temples. So in my YouTube channel, Babu for Heritage, there are some similar titles available. One series is how to view a temple, which talks about what are the things you can see in a temple. There is 4-part session on Mahabalipuram in detail. Each session is around 1.5 hours. We have South Indian architecture through 4 great living temples. This is Tanjore Big Temple, and then Gangakanda Sholapuram. Using these 4 grand temples, I have explained South Indian architecture. There is another interesting talk about Konark Temple, how it was built, what are the mysteries. Another one on Khajuraho temples, how they are built. There is a series on Indian temple architecture and temple malls. And like I said, the apartment of gods, the first 3-tier temple in Tamil Nadu, Vaikunta Perumal temple. And also varied subjects like Cholas, the pinnacle of Indian commerce during this one. Like that, a lot of titles are there, which are my presentation. In addition, we also have a huge collection of curated videos, which are the best videos in the particular areas in temple architecture, sculptures, heritage, and sculptures. So if you want to see more, you can subscribe to the Babu Heritage channel, and you can view and then enjoy the history and give feedback. So till we keep in touch, you can connect me in this details. You can connect me over mobile or email, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. So thank you for listening patiently to this presentation. I think I took a little more than 45 minutes plus. I'm sorry we couldn't finish it earlier. The subject is a little vast and tough to cover this. Thank you.
Such a wonderful presentation, Sivasankarji. It's so detailed to the minute information related to the temples, and it is really exciting to know our own culture. And yes, we have our president with us, Madhu Garu.
Namaskaram.
Welcome, sir, unmute, sir. Madhuji, please unmute.
Sir. Yeah, namaskaram, sir. It was a
Namaskara, sir.
pleasure
How are
listening
you?
to you. Fine, sir. Thank you. I could not be available in the beginning as I'm traveling and out of Vizag. But however, halfway through, I joined, and I was also a part of the very interesting speech which you had given about the temples. You have really taken us back on our history, science, and it's a great knowledge to listen about the science involved in building these temples. I think we wish to learn more, and we'll approach you once again so that we can take up some other very good topic and make a nice presentation to our members. And all the videos which are given, I think we should also find time to go through those. So thank you very much for sparing your time and being a part of this program.
Thank you, sir. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Yes, dear members, the floor is open for questions. Yes, Rao Garu.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Rao Garu.
Sir, it's a wonderful presentation. All facts are new to me, sir. I do not know even one item which you had discussed in your lecture, sir. The query I have is, some of the temples are built on hills and hillocks. They say that it is due to the magnetic effect. They want to channelize the magnetism of the earth.
Hmm.
But there are many other temples that, as you have shown in your presentation, that are built on plain ground.
Hmm.
So, is it how do we look at it, sir? Meaning, do hillocks have more magnetism, or is it?
See, magnetism is a function of the kind of rock you have. Okay, certain minerals have more magnetism, and then certain structures have more magnetism. But to bring a magnetic strength to such a big temple is always painful. So we are looking at complex solutions, and many of the latest YouTubers are creating this kind of a concept to popularize sensationalism and to have more clicks to their YouTube channel. So deliberately they are creating sensationalism and other things. So most logical thing for Hill is that when you have a temple at the top, that is more visible. Okay, so they tried in different areas, and then Rajasimha saw a beautiful hillock, and then they built a fantastic temple on top. Okay, then when Rayas or the Vijayanagara Rayas, when they saw it, they also wanted to build one beautiful Gopuram nearby, which is visible from far away. But they started, and then up to the base only they finished, and then like our Melkote and other things, it is stopping at Kalkaram. Again, all these are attempts at visibility and projecting the grandness to the sun. And after the 18th century, English guys came in, and then they saw that, oh, that's a beautiful place. What they did, they put the lighthouse on top.
Okay.
And then till in 1900, a fully functional new lighthouse was there. That Olakaneshwara temple was being used as a lighthouse for Mahabalipuram during British period. So everybody has got different usages, different views for this.
Sir, I have a part B, sir. In some of the devotees, when they do the production of the temple, some of them touch the wall directly behind the deity. Some temples have a board saying that please do not touch the wall. Is there any significance? They put their forehead just behind the deity, sir, on the wall behind the deity. Is there any significance in this act?
Okay. The point is, when you give Garbhagraha, the concept is that this is not a praying house. This is where the God lives in. Okay, what you do is, when you do the stapana of the Prem deity, okay, it has got a lot of structures inside it. We put it, and then we pray, and then we chant a lot of mantras, and then the entire place is surrounded in positive vibration. Okay, that is what is giving all the power to the idol and the surrounding place. And this is being handled by the pyramidal structure on top of it, and the vibration and cosmic energy. This is the concept of a sankar. Now, when the god goes out, so normally what they do is they transfer the power from Mulapera, the main thing, to the Uchava Murti, and the Uchava Murti takes the power and goes out. Whenever there is a temple renovation takes place, okay, they switch off the main god, and then there is a concept called Palalaya, where they put a small deity with the same power outside, and then the main sanctum is closed. Then all the powers is transferred to this. So some of the people have belief saying that I can take some part of the vibration, that's why they are touching on the behind and other things. Rather than that, you don't need physical touch. You can do yoga, you can just keep silently for some time, and then my experience is that you get very good yoga vibration when you sit near a temple. There is no need for a physical touch. Okay, this is mental vibration. But again, people have a lot of beliefs. And when you go not up to the yoga level, there are certain beliefs like giving palabhishekam and other things, all these pujas, and then this one are methods of giving what I have as a scarce item, I give it to God. That is the concept. What is difficult for me, what is precious for me, I give it to God. That is a concept. But now it has become a ritual. So you do whatever you do wrong things, and finally you do palabhishekam, you think that everything will be solved. Okay, it has become a bribery kind of stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So if you think on this, this is the thing: positive vibration and worship in the form of giving whatever is dear to us as an offering to God.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. It was a very good scene. Good. If you don't have any other question, I think we can wind up the session. And
Mr.
if you
Babu,
have-
I have a question.
Yes,
While I
sir.
was traveling down south and, after Kanyakumari, I've been to a temple in Suchindram, where I have seen, the stones. Whenever you touch a stone or bang it, different Sarigama Padanisa. How is it? What is the speciality? How did that get created? Or
So the vibration depends on the thickness and the shape. Okay, so the shapes are different. The end joints might be different, or the thickness of the shaft might be different. So they do variation, and when you have minor shafts like this with the delta variation, they produce different sounds. Similarly, in the presentation, I showed about Gopuram and the Balipita, right? Yeah, as part of Go. In that Balipita, there is a 7 steps. This is Tarasuram temple near Tanjavur, Kumbakonam. There, the 7 steps are of different stones, slightly different stones, and then they produce different sounds when you knock it down with the stone. So again, variation of material and content that gives different. This kind of musical pillars are mostly prepared in the later Nayaka period, and they will be in the front mandapas. So that is not the Chola or Pallava kind of concept. So this is usually they'll be there in the very front mandapas or the ornamental mandapas, which are mostly of Pandya or later Nayaka period.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Great, sir. So yes, sir, I would like to hand over to our Madhu Buragaru. The President
thank
Madhu Garu,
you.
it's yours.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Babu, for accepting our invitation and giving us an excellent presentation, which is wonderful. And we thank you once again for joining this.
Yeah,
So
it was a pleasure.
for joining this program, and I hope you have benefited with the knowledge. So we'll be
Thank you.
meeting again the 17th for a physical meeting at Hotel Palm Beach. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a good
Thank you, sir.
opportunity. Nice connecting with all people. Looking forward to some more interesting
sir.
interactions from you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you and have a nice day.
I think we'll
Thank you
take
so
up
much,
Kolar.
Sivasankar garu. Chala baga chepparu.
Yeah, Jagan garu cheppandi.
Sivasankar garu, Babu garu, chala it's a wonderful session, Andy.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So
Thank
I
you.
completely agreed with A.N.S. Rao garu. We don't know even a bit of it. Extremely good session, Andy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sure. Welcome.
Thank you.
So do spread the word, and then definitely the more you spread
Yes, very
about
much.
this to people, it will help in creating the awareness about
Very
our
true.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And with this note, I take leave of you.
Thank you very much, Sivasankar Garu. And thank you, wonderful speaker. Ival actually one of the most wonderful speaker manaki ivalu vacharu. And at the same time, I also recognize the presence of our past presidents, Temai Gandhi Garu, Jagan Garu, and K.V. Ratnam Garu also, who are there with us today. Most welcome and thank you, sir. And yes, my dear friends in Rotary, I would like to close today's meeting with a happy note that we have actually seen and learned most of our wonderful cultures of this country, and especially manandariki vastu gurinchi telusu, but here the temple architecture is something like way ahead of it, and this is something that we have to start exploring also. Thank you so much, dear speaker, for enlightening all of us into this the dreaming world of our science and technology, which has been a passion for many scientists across the globe. Thank you once again. So
Thank
with
you.
this happy note, I would like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, my dear Rotarians. The meeting
Thank you.
floor is open for social networking. Thank you.
Okay.
నేను కూడా యాక్చువల్గా వాస్తు అది సరదాగా చాలా కాలం క్రితం.
రికార్డింగ్ ఆఫ్ చేయండి.
Yes. Thank you for the